All right. I think we're live. Push one in the chat if you can hear me. All right, got a confirmation. Thank you for the confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 831, Black Economic Talk. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust. The docket and description of the video for you to follow along with in reference. If you want to engage in a discussion, there'll be a link in the chat. It's a Zoom link. Make sure your Zoom client is up to date before joining. Start and share my screen. We can get started. All right, push one in the chat if you can see my screen. All right, got a confirmation. All right, this is from bizjournals.com, how the new SBA rules change the core narrative of what it means to be AA certified. Actually, I don't have access to this, but I'll just read the caption. Small Business Administration's new requirements for a socially disadvantaged narrative are in full effect, and those that have written them, it's just another cross to bear. So what happened was during the affirmative action ruling by the Supreme Court, someone else decided that they were going to challenge the SBA's AA certification guidelines and how it impacts or gives advantages, alleged advantages to Black folks by race. And that is under scrutiny now. So they had to rewrite some of the documentation over the last couple of months so that it does not actually benefit Black people in this. And so this means that all of these minority contracts with the federal government would have to be under strict scrutiny, and the little bit of percentages that you have gotten, Black people have gotten from this, they are not going to be making any gains. So they're going to take back a lot of those contracts. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, but the contracts that were gained, they're going to stop the question and putting them under light and scrutiny come the new fiscal year. So that's basically what's happening right now. A lot of people thought that was just the fearless fund that was going to be under scrutiny, but that's not necessarily the case. What's happening now is that all minority contracts will be under strict scrutiny because of the federal courts or Supreme Court's ruling. And so any and every opportunity that you would have had to do business with the federal government is going to be under very tight scrutiny, and everything in the private sector is going to be under tight scrutiny as well. All right, let me know you can see my screen. All right, this is from NBC Boston. Wu announces new round of small business grants to fill vacant storefronts. We talked about this before. Boston business owners will have a second chance to get a major financial boost through a grant offered by the city in an effort by the Wu administration to fill vacant commercial space in downtown and other neighborhoods. Mayor Michelle Wu announced on Monday that the city has opened up applications for its second round of supporting pandemic-affected community enterprises space grants, which will award up to 20 businesses with grants up to $200,000 to fill vacant storefronts with a focus on downtown locations. Quote, our small businesses represent the vibrancy and diversity in Boston and our communities, Mayor Michelle Wu said in a news release. Since launching the space grant program, we felt the outsized impact of supporting entrepreneurs who are eager to be located downtown and filling vacant commercial spaces, but didn't have the extra capital to make it happen. In this next round of funding, we're excited to help another group of business owners find long-term success in locations throughout Boston. The goal of the program is both to fill empty storefronts with small businesses and to help to close the racial wealth gap. Businesses may apply whether they are seeking their first physical location or looking to expand with a new location in the city. Priority will be given to businesses in the industries that were most impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic, including arts and entertainment, fitness, food, retail, and more. The Space Grant Program represents one example of how our office is bringing foot traffic back to downtown, closing the racial wealth gap, and overall making our city a more enjoyable place to live and visit, said Chief of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion, Segwin Adawu, in a news release. This program taps into the talent already in Boston, providing not just funding, but wraparound long-term technical assistance for continued success. I encourage any interested small businesses owners to apply. The program is being funded by money from the American Rescue Plan. Over the first round of grants, 24 entrepreneurs were awarded $2.8 million in funding. The grant deadline is November 10th at 5 p.m. So this is important because $200,000 goes a long way. Okay, that's beyond angel investing. That's, big series investing at that point. Anything above six figures is a significant amount of investment. And so a lot of people say that Democrats don't do anything, Democrat-run cities, but this is what you get from a Democrat-run city, okay? It's really designed for Black people to benefit from without actually including Black people as the nomenclature of choice. And so they chose a different language legally that they can actually funnel monies into Black businesses, okay? These are the sort of things that we call good governance. You hear a lot of people talk about good governance, but that's what good governance looks like. Okay. Just wanted to update people on that. Let me get to the next item on the docket. Let me know you can see my screen. All right, this is from the USDA.gov. USDA announces $27.6 million to support underserved and veteran farmers and ranchers through the 2501 program. U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA, has announced $27.6 million in grants to provide training, outreach, and technical assistance to underserved and veteran farmers, ranchers, and foresters to help them own and operate successful farms, ranches, and forest lands. Funding is made through USDA's 2501 program. The 2501 program is administered by the USDA Office of Partnership and Public Engagement. Quote, the 2501 program demonstrates USDA's commitment to improving the livelihoods of the country's underserved and veteran farmers, ranchers, and foresters by ensuring that they have access to and are equipped with the resources, knowledge, and tools to be successful, said OPPE Director Lisa Ramirez. This program is part of the USDA's commitment to equity and inclusion for underserved communities and reducing barriers to USDA programs and resources. In 2023, the USDA is investing $27.6 million in grants to 41 organizations in 27 states for their efforts to provide outreach and technical assistance to underserved and veteran farmers and ranchers. This funding is made available through the Agricultural Improvement Act of 2018. Among the 2501 program awardees is the Recirculating Farms Coalition Growing Local Veterans in Agriculture project. This project will teach veterans about vertical farming and other agricultural innovations for a more equitable food system, providing fresh, local, accessible food and stable green jobs in New Orleans, Louisiana. Another 2501 award will go to Pueblo of Isleta for the Farmers Outreach and Assistance Program for Tribal Communities Initiative in Isleta, Pueblo, New Mexico. The 2501 program was created through the 1990 Farm Bill to help underserved farmers, ranchers, and foresters who have historically experienced limited access to USDA loans, grants, training, and technical assistance. The 2014 Farm Bill expanded the program to include veterans. Grants are awarded to higher education institutions and nonprofit and community-based organizations to extend USDA's engagement efforts in underserved and veteran communities. Now, I'm bringing this up because we had this situation with the Black farmers who could not get access to the monies during the last administration. And so what you see now is a concerted effort to redirect some of these monies into those underserved farmers, which happen to be mostly Black men. What's going on, Renaissance, man?
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Not much. Put some volume on your mic.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. This is oh wow, I'm surprised a little bit of the dollar value, the small amount, 27.6, but anything is better than nothing. Because that is one population who is, if you want to talk about discrimination, man, Black farmers got it bad. Just over the years, mainly dealing with the really one of the big problems that you see, at least with Black farmers, is they have to deal with the local USDA offices, which are usually staffed by people who are just racist, people who really don't want to see Black folks really get any sort of money. I have a family member who's a Black farmer, and I mean, just trying to deal with them and like him saying, hey, I went and chat with them, they said, there's no more money, or there's things like that. It's just like, these are people who are very resentful that this is happening in the first place. So I think the big thing is that, where this money and how it's administrated is just as important as actually getting any sort of funds, because that's what's happened so many times throughout history. Another example is kind of that's similar. It's kind of like GI Bill. They made sure it was administered back in the 40s at the state level, and you literally had stories of basically Black people who had applied for their GI benefits, and people were intercepted it in the mail, throwing their applications in the trash. I mean, all sorts of stuff. So
Yeah,
that's a big issue as well.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this next item on the docket is from the Boston Globe. Nubian Square can be the next Black Wall Street. Realizing the vision for this vibrant neighborhood requires focused, collaborative, and intentional capital investment from multiple sectors. Earlier this summer, Celtics shooting guard Jaylen Brown made national headlines by shining a spotlight on an idea that has been brewing for some time, creating a Black Wall Street in Boston. The original Black Wall Street, 35 blocks of largely Black-owned businesses and homes in the Greenwood section of Tulsa, Oklahoma, was nearly eradicated following the horrific destruction of homes, businesses, and schools, and the massacre of up to 300 Black people in 1921. Now only 2 blocks remain, though they serve as a reminder of all that was 100 years ago and what has yet to be replicated or rebuilt. At the same time that Black Wall Street was thriving in Tulsa, Roxbury was the second largest commercial district in Boston, second only to downtown Crossing. Boston has opportunity to create the next Black Wall Street in Nubian Square, located in Roxbury. Nubian Square is the geographic center of Boston and the heart of its Black community, which is with a rich past and present of culture, education, and economic development. Nubian Square, led by Roxbury Strategic Master Plan Oversight Committee, is in motion with significant amount underway, much of it led by Black real estate developers with ties to the neighborhood and a deep understanding of the community's needs. The new projects are bringing housing, labs, job training, and commercial spaces to Nubian Square, which already features thriving retail stores and restaurants and businesses representing multiple high growth industries like the Better Together Brain Trust. Trust me, I didn't write this, man. A clean energy enterprise located on Warren Street, the district is home to the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts and One United Bank, the largest Black-owned bank in the country, recently purchased a building on Washington Street to serve as its headquarters. The concept of Black Wall Street goes beyond thriving businesses and institutions. The idea is a neighborhood that serves as a new technology and cultural hub for Boston that promotes equitable and inclusive economic growth, job creation, innovation, and home ownership. Centrally located in Boston, serving as a transit hub from MBT bus lines and in close proximity to the Orange Line, Nubian Square is an ideal location to live, learn, work, and play. The neighborhood has 50,000 residents and is a hub for K-12 education, home to both the Boston Public Schools and METCO headquarters, as well as several BPS schools, including Madison Park Technical Vocational School and Dearborn STEM Academy. Pathways to post-secondary success for young people are clear in the neighborhood. Roxbury Community College and the new Benjamin Franklin Cummins Institute of Technology campus are both in the area, and each is leading minority serving institution in technology, healthcare, and other high demand industry sectors. The square has also received the state's designation as the Roxbury Cultural District, making it eligible for state grants for budding artists, and the Roxbury Main Street is actively engaging businesses in the area, obtaining funding for building facade improvements and working to secure more local liquor licenses to increase the revenue for neighborhood restaurants. Earlier this year, the Black Economic Council of Massachusetts moved our offices to the Bowling Building as an organization committed to supporting and empowering Black-owned businesses. We knew we needed to base our operation in Nubian Square. We and our strategic partners are committed to fostering a tech hub for life sciences, climate workers, and entrepreneurs. Given the Commonwealth's significant demand for skilled talent in these growth industries, Nubian Square confluence of resources is ideally suited to propel these key sectors forward. We applaud Jaylen Brown for lifting the concept of a Black Wall Street in Boston into the public consciousness. We regard this moment as a viable opportunity to bring a broad range of stakeholders together to realize the full potential inherent in Nubian Square. Realizing the vision for this vibrant neighborhood requires focused, collaborative, and intentional capital investment from multiple sectors. We encourage businesses, business affinity groups, city and state government and nonprofit foundations, healthcare organizations, life science, and climate tech businesses to witness the promise of Nubian Square firsthand, commitment to cultivating this future economic engine for our city. So what's happening here, for those who are not from here, what's happening here is that Martin Luther King used to live here. So did Malcolm X. And many other 20th century and 19th century activists actually came out of here, including Coretta Scott King. She was here as well. Many other people that you can name in the civil rights movement of the 20th century were here. If you go back and watch Malcolm X's movie, it's actually starts off in this very section that you see here. And so this is probably the strongest Black neighborhood in New England. So you got 6 states in New England. This is the strongest area and probably the most dominated area for Black people, and for good reason. Those other places are sundown towns: New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, Rhode Island. You probably don't want to be there. People want to be here. So a lot of people came from the South and actually helped build it up to what it is today. Okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, one of the things I'm reading right now, I'm reading King's the new King biography that came out earlier this year. And one of the things he talks about is when he's in grad school at Boston University getting his PhD. That's also where he meets his wife. I think she's going to the Boston School of Music. That's up in that area as well. But yeah, he was talking about how, even back in that time, this is back in the I guess it would be the 40s. He was talking about, that's where a lot of Black people had, like you said, migrated from the South, more than well-to-do, and a lot of them wanted to stay because it was kind of like an enclave, a place where they could go. I mean, there's still obviously discrimination, racism, things like that, but it was not. It's certainly wasn't what it was in the South. All of that makes sense. The one thing I was wondering too, though, is like this area, is it just been underinvested in, or you like more of taking an area that just kind of more trying to push back on gentrification and keep more of the ethnic identity there? Just curious, because I'm not too familiar with Boston.
So what happened in the during the civil rights movement, once they passed the FHA, Fair Housing Act, a lot of white people took off and left their property behind, which created a economic vacuum within the community itself. And so a lot of Black people accommodated those spaces during that time as well. And what you had now was, one, real estate speculators who coerced a lot of those white people to sell their property, because they didn't want, they convinced these people that you don't want to live next. Well, you don't want to have niggers living next to you, you don't want them coming in raping your daughter or anything like that. And so a lot of those white people sold their property to those real estate speculators for a good chunk of change. And then what those same real estate speculators did was they resold that property after the FHA to those Black people looking to buy property. And so a lot of Black people got sucked into those areas, but they never got the investment back into the community because people were afraid to invest. It got redlined. And so that's kind of what happened. And so there was a slick way of divesting from the community once Black people got there.
Yeah. I was gonna say the other thing in that scheme, because you saw this in other cities too, was basically they'd say, hey, oh, a black person moved in. That means a bunch of black people are gonna move in. Your value is gonna drop, so you better sell now.
Yeah.
Otherwise you won't be able to sell it. So they usually sell like pretty quickly,
Mhm.
maybe even a little bit of a loss, and then you basically turn around and then jack the price up to black buyers.
Mhm.
And then that's how they made off in the actual real estate agents. And then to your point, because it became a majority black area, people did not want to invest.
Yeah. And so I like the idea of what they're doing, but me personally, if I had to do it, if I was a part of the committee, and I probably could join if I had some time to really step down here. I haven't been down here since the summer, but what I will say is this: I think that having Ben Franklin Cummings Institute of Technology there is a negative, primarily because you already have Roxbury Community College, which is a PBI, which is a part of the HBCU MSI sort of network. Benjamin Franklin Institute was not cultivated with the intention of being a black institution. It was really a white institution. It only became minority serving institution because minorities started going there. And so it's not traditionally a historically black institution. I would say that RCC is more of a black institution than Benjamin Franklin is. And so my position is that they should move RCC to Nubian Square and rebrand it as Nubian Institute of Technology, rather than to give all the monies or some of the monies to Benjamin Franklin. I think that that's wrong, because they existed in a predominantly white neighborhood, which is the South End. Okay, that's another neighborhood over. It has nothing to do with Nubian Square or Roxbury for that matter. And so that these are the sort of nuances that don't really get fleshed out in this article, but they make it seem as if we're all inclusive, but that's not true. And so we're going to be missing a lot of valid real estate in square footage because we're accommodating non-black institutions into a predominantly black area and calling that progress. And I think that's wrong. Number two, I would get rid of the courthouse. That courthouse shouldn't even exist there. Roxbury District Court. I think they should get rid of that thing. I think they should move it right next to the Boston Police headquarters, right across the street, big 1,000,000 square foot parcel that's sitting there empty. And I don't know what they're doing with it or what they're going to do with it, but they should actually move that over there and keep that away from the economic trajectory of where they want the Nubian Square to be. Because in this picture, you can't really see it, but there's a courthouse there right behind the library. And so having that courthouse there doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it doesn't bring any economic value at all. Why keep it there? Why not just get rid of it, in my opinion? And then the third factor is the money they spent on the library, they shouldn't have spent it there in the first place. They should have just rebuilt the library somewhere else, either in the new bowling building, like there was mentioned in the article, or somewhere adjacent. But I think all of that real estate has been poorly developed, for 1, 2, or 3, 1 or 2, 3-story pieces of infrastructure, which is the courthouse and the library. It's underutilized and underdeveloped. And I think that, whoever's looking at this isn't doing a good job of it. I don't think that having a Greater Roxbury Arts and Cultural Center is I don't think that really creates jobs. It doesn't really do anything in that. It doesn't bring a lot of value. It's not a lot of return on investment. I think that what they're doing, it looks good on paper, but in my opinion, they need to take over the Singapore model and have it, the way Singapore looks with the three hotels there with the swimming pool up the top and stuff like that. That it should look like that. It shouldn't look like what they're trying to project in this picture. But it's not. I'm not in charge of anything. So millions of dollars, I think, being squandered by this. But that's my opinion on it.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Mhm.
Um, no, I will say, I think the fact that, like you said, there's an educational institution there. That's always a positive for economic development, long term, sustainable. But I hear what you're saying on that with regard to that too.
Yeah. Let me jump to the next item on the docket. This is from whattv.com. Grand Rapids competition aims to uplift Black-owned businesses. Grand Rapids, Michigan, local small business owners faced off in a pitch competition for thousands of dollars Thursday night with the West Michigan Small Business Development Center. The competition was held at GSSU's Richard M. DeVos Center. Pitch Black Grand Rapids was aimed toward uplifting Black-owned businesses. 7 finalists pitched their business plans to a panel of judges for cash prizes. The West Michigan Small Business DC Regional Director, Ed Garner, said the pitch competition is one of the first of its kind for businesses in Grand Rapids. Quote, "We are giving them a little money, but really the training they got was instrumental. 6 weeks of pitch training that they can take that and use anywhere in the future," explained Garner. The winner received $5,000 to help scale their business. The runner-up, $3,500, and third took home $1,500. I think this is all well and good, but I do think that there was more that could have been done. I don't think that $5,000 is something that you can actually use to scale your business. I don't see how that even works. $5,000 is what you pay, for paperwork, for a grant writer or, something like that. I don't see how $5,000 is something that's going to help scale your business. But anything is better than nothing, right? So
Yeah. No, I was going to say, the $5,000, those things tend to be hit or miss. Like from what I've seen, as far as like, because it's almost like a business accelerator or pitch developer. It's hit or miss. Some services are really are a lot better than others. Some of them make you pay. So if it's free, I guess, I've been through one. If it's free, the benefits, I guess, is they do bring in experts in their area. You can reach out for them sort of for advising or tips. How much professional services they'll actually provide is kind of, hit or miss. But then you also have some that take equity. So I think it's a matter of like what fits best at the time. And you can always go through multiple ones. So I think it's more than anything finding the right fit. 'Cause, yeah, to your point, $5,000, like you said, you can easily that could easily be half of that could go towards paying upfront fee to the grant writer, and then they get a portion of the grant too as well, or even paying someone to actually review as well too, paying the grant writer, and then you may want someone else to review. So now $5,000, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it's very little. You could easily end up paying a web developer that as well, so to develop your website and get your domain off the ground and get your company name.
Hit the Cash App, support the show. All right. The next item on the docket is from bizjournals.com. DC Collaborative increasing procurement opportunities for minority-owned businesses with Wells Fargo support. Shanair Little is a Washington, D.C. native who grew up in Ward 7. After studying business management and executive management leadership in college, he searched for ways to help people in the city communities gain skills for employment so they could escape poverty. I realized that we, as a community, let me zoom in on this. We're limited in our approach and in resources to help people in challenged neighborhoods to get out of their habitat and realign their mindset so they can accomplish bigger things, Little said. The only way you can do that is through economic opportunity. Little serves as the regional director at Fog Hill Incorporated, a full-service facility maintenance company in Washington, D.C., with a goal of helping to increase employment for underemployed and unemployed residents. It has trained and onboarded more than 70 people to provide facilities, maintenance in plumbing, HVAC, electrical, landscaping, and janitorial management. Fog Hill was one of the first companies to win a contract through the DC Community Anchor Partnership in 2019 when Georgetown University signed a contract for maintenance services. That led to jobs of 50 DC residents in 15 campus facilities and off-campus housing. The DC Community Anchor Partnership is a public-private partnership led by the Coalition for Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development and co-convened with the district's Office of Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development. Its goal is to increase procurement opportunities for DC-based minority-owned businesses. DC Community Anchor Partnership funders include the Wells Fargo Foundation, which provided a $150,000 grant. Quote, DC Community Anchor Partnership has been amazing for us, Little said. The folks at CNED have been able to assist us with getting through the bureaucracy and opening the door for us and many other businesses. CNED is a 501c3 member association that supports the nonprofit housing and economic development industry in Washington, D.C. Its goal is to advance community development solutions that address the inequity of under-resourced communities in the region. Through DC Community Anchor Partnership, a collaborative of local anchor institutions, hospitals, universities, and utility companies harnesses their purchasing power to grow DC-based minority-owned businesses. These anchor institutions collectively spend $2 billion on goods and services. Since 2017, the anchor institutions have spent $247 million with DC area minority-owned businesses. According to Stephen Glaude, CNED's president and CEO, increased procurement opportunities for DC-based minority-owned businesses will create jobs, boost incomes, and generate assets for historically underserved residents, as well as advance inclusive prosperity in the District of Columbia. Quote, we know minority-owned businesses have historically faced significant barriers to accessing procurement contracts, said Claude. We are working with our anchor members to re-engineer their procurement systems and create equitable access to contract opportunities so our DC-based minority-owned businesses can not only compete, but win new business opportunities. The Wells Fargo Foundation has committed a $500,000 grant this year to expand the initiative to Maryland's, Prince George's, and Montgomery counties and to Northern Virginia's Fairfax, Alexandria, and Arlington counties. An estimated 420 minority-owned businesses will receive training and technical assistance to meet anchor institution supplier diversity eligibility requirements. Quote, we truly aim to be the bank of doing for the communities, said Otis Raleigh, president of the Wells Fargo Foundation. Quote, we believe in working with local leaders and community organizations to address some of the practices that have prevented historically marginalized people and communities from growing wealth. Wells Fargo support is so important because it's expensive to service these institutions in the hands-on way that we do, God said. We're also continuing to work hard to grow our portfolio of minority-owned businesses, and that includes advanced vetting, sending and consultants across 9 procurement areas, reviewing financials, and doing deep referral checks. None of this is possible without the type of corporate commitment. I mean, this is what for those who don't know, we talk about ESG, right? Environmental, social, and governance. Before you can get to the DE, that's the other side of DEI, right? ESG goals, DEI goals, initiatives, they all have to work in tandem together. And so you need these sort of partnerships in order for things to accelerate. It's what creates ecosystems. Sometimes you hear people in the space talk about, some of their subscribers make $80,000 or more. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool and all, but how do you move the needle for everyone, right? And these are the sort of initiatives that you need for Black people to really move forward, because a lot of them don't have access to the capital, like we discussed earlier, and then you don't have access to the infrastructure, the economic infrastructure, which is what Wells Fargo is providing. I question the legitimacy of Wells Fargo more often than not, but I think they hit a home run. What do you think, Renaissance Man?
No, I was just gonna say that, like, anytime I hear the name Wells Fargo in the Black community, I'm just like, I kind of roll my eyes, because I'm pretty cynical. Because another thing, they were one of the most egregious banks during the downturn for putting Black people in these subprime loans. People getting their houses, higher interest rates than needed for some people, or people having their houses repossessed without much room to negotiate. As well as, I believe they've had several discrimination lawsuits as well. So I hear their name and I just kind of cringe. But the program itself, I think, is great. One thing that stood out was they said anchor institutions, which goes back to, if you've ever heard of the Cleveland model, that's really key to how they operate, which is basically, hey, you try to make sure these anchor institutions, your hospitals, your schools, your universities, that they buy product from the local community that supports the businesses there. And because they're, quote, anchor institutions, they're not like a business which will pick up and leave for, lower labor costs or things like that. So it helps sustain the community. So that's huge. I definitely think that's good, as well as getting more people opportunities in procurement, especially in the DC area, because the federal government is the biggest buyer of all sorts of things on earth. I mean, DOD alone, just how much money they spend. But you've got Department of Defense, Department of Energy, Health and Human Services, NIH, all of these government entities that need to buy everything from like expertise, so like highly skilled people, to just materials. If we're talking about like NIH or something, the stuff, the things that they use in the lab, the disposable things that they use in the lab on a regular basis, those things have to be purchased. So that's huge from that standpoint, supporting all of those entities that are in the area.
Yeah. All right, next item on the docket is from the New York Post. Chicago mayor proposes city-owned grocery stores as Walmart, Whole Foods exits leave food deserts. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson said he wants to open city-owned grocery stores to serve neighborhoods that have become food deserts after 4 Walmart stores and a Whole Foods closed. Johnson announced last week that his administration would partner with nonprofit advocacy group Economic Security Project to put stores in underserved areas of the city, a proposal Republicans called something out of Soviet-style central planning. 4 other Chicago Walmarts are still open, which the chain said in a statement continue to face the same business difficulties, but we think this decision gives us the best chance to keep them open and serving the community. When the Post reached out to Walmart for comment, a company spokesperson pointed to the April press release, which said that collectively our Chicago stores have not been profitable since we opened the first one nearly 17 years ago. Last November, Whole Foods closed in Inglewood after 6 years in the South Side lot. 1 year before, Whole Foods' 7-year lease was up with its landlord, DL3 Realty. The location boasted very affordable prices for the grocer's infamously overpriced organic goods. However, as years went on, items at the Inglewood Whole Food became too expensive for the neighborhood's residents, and the store was often empty at peak shopping times, like Saturdays, according to the local outlet Block Chicago. Whole Foods has sat empty for nearly 1 year. Low-price grocery store Save-A-Lot is reportedly next in line to fill the space, though it likely won't open until Whole Foods leases up, and Inglewood residents are concerned that it won't offer the same types of healthy options. See, Black people eat healthy too. The Post has sought comment from Whole Foods. Only time will tell if a government-owned grocery store would fill the vacant lot instead, though Johnson's administration still reportedly needs to conduct a feasibility study before providing a timeline of actually opening these stores. Quote, in the coming weeks, we will be taking a much closer look at the challenges we face, and we will address those challenges reasonably and responsibly, and not on the backs of workers and working families, Johnson said in a press release on Wednesday. Representatives for the Chicago mayor and the Economic Security Project did not immediately respond to the Post's request for comment. Republican politicians in the Democrat-run Windy City blasted the plan as something out of Soviet-style central planning. Take all the problems private chains face in low-income areas, then add in amateur management by a bureaucracy, Chicago-style political corruption in hiring and contracting, and a limited range of products, said Steve Bolton, the chairman of the Chicago Republican Party. Quote, private chains should just pull out of neighborhoods because the city stores will have better police protection and lower prices subsidized by the long-suffering Chicago taxpayer. Food deserts do exist in Chicago neighborhoods, but the answer is promoting capitalist prosperity and stopping crime, not injecting more socialist dependency, Bolton added. Neither Walmart nor Whole Foods disclosed exactly why they suffered continued losses over the years. One explanation could be the shoplifting epidemic taking over America, which has been retailers struggling to cope with the consequence less pilfering, stripping them of revenue. That's also led to the closure of Landmark grocery store in Baltimore that shut its doors after 25 years. Experts have blamed the surge on lax policies, including the passage of the Prop 47 in California, which reduced theft from a potential felony to a misdemeanor, as well as calls to defund the police in 2020 following the murder of George Floyd, which resulted in a mass exodus of cops nationwide.
Man, you could tell this is a New York Post article.
Yeah, definitely. But the thing here is this. I think the idea is actually a good one. And here's why. You already have, it's already a necessity to have a grocery store. But if the major outlets like Whole Foods and Walmart and Target don't feel or don't see the viability in it, what other alternative do you have? If the big chains don't see a value in it, what other alternative do you have? And so I think that you should try something like this, primarily because it's been done in the past and it's been proven to be successful. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think they took it I don't think they went far enough. I think he was trying to think correctly. I'd say, if you're those the private entities that say they are leaving, I have a hard time believing that every store that they have is profitable. Some of this I think could be politics at play because Walmart is notorious for not wanting to, go into really any sort of urban sort of setting. I mean, that was its policy for the longest. So, some of that could be coming into play. To the point on increased theft, the article tries to say, hey, they're blaming the change in laws, but really, I think what the angle is that you're seeing the incentives have changed, that because of the internet, it's now easier to broker and move stolen goods. So it's like, okay, if you go into a store, like, because you even seen sort of high end, smash and grabs. It's like, okay, if you go into a store, maybe, 10 years ago and take a bunch of stuff, it's like, okay, at best you're going to be able to, maybe sell this somewhere in the neighborhood, way underpriced, at the trunk of your car or something like that. Versus now, there's eBay and all sorts of other retailers that you can sell really goods to around the world that people will pay a lot more money for. So, the fact that you now have a bigger platform to go and move this stuff, I think have changed the incentives on why some of this is happening versus, them saying, hey, it just, it went from a misdemeanor to a felony. And that's why that doesn't make much sense to me.
I mean,
Um,
you can't tell me that people eating grapes inside of a store has somehow cost you, millions of dollars in revenue loss. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying. I don't see, you know, um, these smash and grabs in Whole Foods. Like people are not smashing and
yeah,
grabbing, avocados and zucchinis and trying to, saying we out here, we out here. They're not. I don't see that happening. Now,
maybe it's inflation. I don't know. You know,
no, what it is that they got their tax abatement. 5 years. They have to stay 5 to 7 years, and now they'll just move somewhere else and go get another
tax abatement. Yeah,
tax abatement somewhere else. And that's pretty much what it comes down to. It's
yeah.
not
So if you,
profitable because you already got your money up front.
well, I was gonna say, even if it, so yeah, to your point, even if it was a place that they wouldn't normally open, yeah, to your point, that as well. The one thing I think that he could have done, Brandon Johnson, that would have been better is I think you could have made it a co-op. I think you try to go into these places and actually like give the community actually ownership shares in the actual grocery store. Because I think that will like align incentives to where like instead of just having another grocer there, you have the community really invested, truly invested in ownership of it, on operations, all sorts of elements that will be there versus just sort of a state-owned type of store. While it solves the problem, I don't think it truly gives the community the empowerment and the really the skills and the investment to really make sure that this operates and covers the needs like it should. I think there is a point on the bureaucracy, but my response to that would be, hey, if it's quote unquote Chicago owned, all you're going to do is really subcontract this out to someone to manage it. The city of Chicago is not going to be trying to actively run a grocery store. They're going to hire like a private equity firm or something like that to try to go and run the store. So,
Well, what we have here is a co-op. In our neighborhood, we have a grocery co-op.
yeah,
And
that's
so
what I
the
mean. That's
people,
what I think this should be.
yeah, yeah. So I think that maybe what he may be alluding to, but not properly articulated. And so those things do work. They serve as a staple. I mean, they're an anchor institution within the community. You need those sort of, these things are needed in order for them to, for the community to function.
Now, when you say it's a co-op for you, so people in your community actually own like pieces of the store or like ownership in the store.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's kind of how that's like Publix. I don't know if you have I think Publix is mainly in the South, but
yeah,
it's an ESOP, I think. So employees actually a good bit of their pay, they own basically stock in the store. So like or share in the store. So whether you're a cashier or someone who works in the deli or something like that, you don't just get paid with your salary. Like I said, you have ownership in the actual business, so you get to share in profits and things like that. And like anyone who's been in the Publix before, like you usually know it's one of the nicer. It is a little bit more expensive, but I mean, I don't even buy that necessarily because I mean, I've been in there and it's not like, hurt your pocket more expensive. It may be okay. Milk maybe $2 here and it's $3 here or something like that. But no, it's notorious for being very nice, very clean, and employees seem to like working there too because it's almost like the Costco model.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryle left a comment in the chat. He says, local Black politicians have tried to force stores like these to force them to hire Black people, and some of these people have viewed this as extortion and avoided investments. The thing here is this: when you're a big corporation like Walmart and Target and Whole Foods and whatnot, the tax benefit for them to be there is a part of the DEI initiative and ESG goals, right? And so you can't just move your corporation into someone else's neighborhood, displace those people, and then make a profit off of the tax dollars of those people. It doesn't work like that.
Well,
you can't. Yeah, that's part of the issue, and that's why you see these companies, these corporations, hightailing it out because they have to actually comply, and they don't want to.
No, that's what I was going to say. You saw that come up with AOC and Amazon coming to New York. Like,
yep.
That was a big pushback there was, hey, if Amazon's going to put its headquarters here, and then just, hire people from, all across the country to come here, drive up the cost of living to where locals, really can't afford to live here anymore. Why would we want something like that here? We could, I mean, granted, people are like, oh, it'll bring revenue, but they're like, hey, we could take this money and basically, invest it in something that's going to stay and actually, benefit people across the economic spectrum versus at best with something like that you're talking about. You might get some of the multiplier effect where, okay, these people came in with some high end jobs, so maybe they go out to lunch or something like that, and support some local businesses. So, you might get a nice tip working in the restaurant, but the other side of that is you can no longer afford to live in that area anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's essentially what's happening. They don't want to comply with people's civil rights. They don't want to comply with, economic plans for communities. They just think that they should just come in here, take the tax benefits, and then leave. No, it don't work that way. You actually have to reinvest. It's about community reinvestment. And so a lot of, Whole Foods and those companies, Apple too. Apple's another one that does not want to open up in predominantly Black neighborhoods, not because of theft, but because they don't want to comply. And they don't see the economic benefit. But that's where the quote unquote socialist perspective comes in, because the socialist perspective is, well, we don't really need a Whole Foods or a Walmart. We can create our own stuff, and then we don't necessarily have to lean on big corporate to do anything. And I think that's what AOC was saying. To your point, I think that's what AOC was leaning towards. And so I think that there's some benefit to actually doing this. But you need government to actually help accelerate and be the catalyst behind it. In this room. Yeah.
No, I was gonna say the thing with Apple too is, if Apple, now all their devices can be tracked. So like, you run out there, do a smash and grab with Apple products, like, they're going to be able to basically trace you. And the other thing is, I was going to say, even now too, is you're seeing the rise of, AI and, cameras and monitors in these places. So, you can start, taking pictures of these people as well too. So, if they're having all this theft, I find it hard to believe that, that these people would just pack up and leave because of theft. There's something else at play, because like I said, there's more and more technology out there that is pushing back against theft.
Yeah. Most of them have insurance anyway. So it's a write off for them at the end of the day. Because what if there was fires? Well, what's going to happen now? You don't want to open up your store because you're afraid of a fire? I'm not buying that.
Or I was going to say, like, to your point, natural disasters, like, are you going to stop, open up, stores in places like California? I mean, people rebuild in Florida, California, Oklahoma, all these places where natural disasters occur all the time. No one says, well, that's Tornado Alley, so we're not going to build there because we're going to lose a bunch of money when the storm comes and, knocks us out. And then, we can't operate for 6 months while we're rebuilding. So,
yeah. All right. Next item on the docket is from 11live.com. Bigger than the bottle, Atlanta water boys turn street hustle into company. We covered this early in the summer, but I'm just going to reiterate it. These three Atlanta water boys just turned a childhood hustle into a business. Amir, Serge, and Meki's journey reflects youth entrepreneurship and community impact. Read this for our first paragraph. From the roadside hustle to the viral moments online, Atlanta water boys are notorious for three young entrepreneurs. Their passion turned to profit, and now they've started their own brand. But their story, part of what's happening with Atlanta's youth in water sales, is much bigger than the bottle. What started as an after-school activity for Amir, Serge, and Meki has transformed into Water Boys in the Hood, a water bottle company with its own merchandise. Quote, "You've either got it or you don't," Amir, co-owner of Water Boys in the Hood, said. "It can't be on you. It got to be in you." It's been around 9 years since Amir sold his first water bottle. He was about 7 or 8 years old and remembers simply telling his friends one day, "We should go sell water." That's when Serge and Meki joined in, selling water every day after school. My first day, when I made my first sale, I was happy, Serge said. I just went back every day and I haven't been addicted to it. Serge said the return for a $4 to $5 case of water could be anywhere between $200 and $300. During the COVID-19 pandemic, their hustle caught the attention of a filmmaker who looked to document their journey. The bottle is way bigger than just part of their hustle. A water boy's story is bigger than just a bottle. Greg Williams, a filmmaker and former water boy, said. Water is a life resource. Everyone needs water to live, he added. He noted that the many boys and young men who decided to sell water are looking to support their families through an avenue that wouldn't get them into trouble. It did make me feel good, Serge said. I can buy my mom or my brother something. I could buy my family something and it won't hurt me. Through this, the young men have learned much more about what it takes to start a business, starting a mission to fight for supporting their families. I can better my family life and make sure that my little sister and my little brother would not have to do what I had to do, Amir said. And that's how the brand was born. The hustle turned business, sells hoodies, hats, t-shirts, and water branded bottles. Now the team needs more education and mentorship to continue building their brand. The three have started visiting water plants to learn more about water distribution and making their own clothes for the brand. I would think that this would be a slam dunk for the administration with the EPA. The head of the EPA, Michael Regan. Right? I would think that they would invest into something like this. This is an excellent sort of political campaign that focuses on environmental justice as well as economic justice, right? You can have the confluence of the two.
Well, the other thing is too, I think the key word in all this is mentorship, because that's sort of the next step is I think, my mind goes to, obviously, like I said, these are young kids who are looking, haven't found their final, career path in life. But I would think that this is an inroad to just, water treatment in general, because they said they're going to a plant. And my mind goes to when you listen to somewhere like Jackson, Mississippi, where they talk about, hey, we're lacking the operators, the engineers who need to maintain and run these things. To me, that's the next logical step is, okay, you've created your own company here. The next step would be, hey, how do we go and, get water, purify it? Or, how do I go and work at actually one of these plants? So to me, it's, hey, here's an early interest that someone has something in that if you're smart, you can sort of redirect them, sort of vertical integration of, kind of like if someone, is interested in, repairing cars or something like that, the next step is, okay, take them to the mechanic shop. And then, okay, if the mechanic shop, maybe you go now look at mechanical engineering or automotive, some sort of automotive engineering to go and, actually build and design your own cars. So kind of moving your way up the value chain.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, let me get to the next item on the docket. All right, next item on the docket is from Essence.com. This couple is helping Black men purchase homes. Kevon and Aisha Shelton launched the Black Men Buy Homes initiative to address the disparities in purchasing Black men often encounter compared to Black women.
Wait, Essence is the gynocracy, right?
You said it.
I heard. They're covering a story on Black men buying homes. Okay, just checking.
That's what I heard. A Texas couple says they want to help Black men overcome historical inequalities and other barriers to purchase houses. Houstonians, Kevon and Aisha Shelton, designed the Black Men Buy Houses initiative to galvanize and equip Black men with the financial literacy tools they needed to start their own home buying journey. The event will take place on September 30th, 2023. That was last couple weeks ago, from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. at the Community Collective for Houston. According to the couple, the program will aim to address disparities in purchasing Black men often encounter compared to Black women. Black men often face formidable challenges when it comes to purchasing homes, which can be attributed to a combination of factors, a dues release states. Firstly, there is a lack of accessible knowledge and information about the home buying process, leaving many Black men unfamiliar with the steps involved and the resources available to them. Secondly, limited financial resources and opportunities hinder their ability to amass the necessary funds for down payments and closing costs. This financial barrier, compounded by historical inequalities, exacerbates the difficulties they encounter. As previously reported by Essence, in 2020, the National Center for Education Statistics shows that Black women are enrolled in college at a higher percentage than any other group, including white women, Asian women, and white men. Black women have also been obtaining degrees at a consistently higher rate for the last 10 years as compared to Black men. Between 2009 and 2010, Black women accounted for 68% of associate's degrees, 66% of bachelor's degrees, 71% of master's degrees, and 65% of doctorate degrees awarded to Black students during that time frame. What's more, Black women also have the highest labor force participation rate of all women, according to 2021 data from the Department of Labor, meaning a higher share of Black women are either employed or unemployed and looking for work. So what it sounds like to me, somebody cares about Black men enough to start this. I see nothing wrong with it. According to the manosphere, everybody's high value. I guess, they didn't get the message.
That or the solution to Black men is, what a 12-point program.
17 points.
17-point program versus, helping them buy houses.
Wealth building assets.
Yeah, like you can't make some of this stuff up.
All right, next item on the docket is from the AGC.com. Walmart gives $800,000 to Atlanta Organization for Black Entrepreneurship. The Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs will use the funding to help train owners of consumer goods businesses. Walmart is giving a $800,000 grant to the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs, RICE, a nonprofit dedicated to developing, growing, and scaling Black entrepreneurs, the retail giant announced Monday. The funding will bolster efforts to train business owners who produce consumer goods. The announcement comes on the heels of another large corporate gift to RICE. In August, PayPal donated $1 million to launch the PayPal Retail Academy, which is slated, to be an MBA level of training in retail. Walmart's one-year grant to RICE is part of the company's 2020 commitment to contribute $100 million over 5 years for racial equity. Part of the Walmart funding will go to the Retail Academy's launch. It will also be used to support the earlier stages of RICE's entrepreneurship curriculum, and Walmart employees will help teach business owners and programs about what the retailer's buyers, procurement officers and shelf managers are looking for. Quote, we're going to be the place that when you see RICE on the head of any application that comes in, Walmart will know that they have to give it a good look, because we're going to prepare these entrepreneurs to win, to be shelf ready, to be retail ready, said Jay Bailey, president and CEO of Rice. Bailey also hopes that by having Walmart associates teach entrepreneurs how to get on Walmart shelves, it will boost their confidence and belief in their business. The PayPal Retail Academy will teach up to 50 entrepreneurs about non-traditional retail paths, how to develop global marketing strategies, and navigating supply chain issues. PayPal employees will also help mentor and coach the business owners. The new academy will launch in 2024, January. Currently, Rice supports more than 360 Black-owned businesses. About 25% of them are retail product companies like Yanni Beauty. Yamina Childress is the CEO of Yanni Beauty and will be pitching Walmart in late October to carry their men's skincare line in a hair oil. Our vision for the future is to be on shelves at Walmart, Childress said, so that our customers and customers around the world can discover what Yanni Beauty is. So I think that this is actually a really good initiative. I don't see anything wrong with this. PayPal donating $1 million, Walmart throwing money around the room, $800,000 to the Organization for Black Entrepreneurship. How can you go wrong with this? Unless Ed Bloom decides he's going to sue.
Yeah, that's true. Can't rule that out.
Yeah.
He seems to have stood down for now, but yeah, I mean, that's what his that lawsuit, even though Roland Martin broke this down on his channel, but the whole purpose of that lawsuit was, even though he didn't win, he wanted to stop or kind of stigmatize initiatives like that, in hopes that, hey, if corporate America sees that people are getting sued, that they'll just stop it because they don't want to be tied up in the controversy. So even though you don't have a legal basis, try to at least intimidate people somewhat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the idea is to be disruptive to any sort of progress that Black people may be having, because they don't seem to be going after Jewish people, right? They don't seem to be going after, any sort of Latino specific businesses. It's only about Black people, more specifically. So.
Oh yeah, no, there'd be some serious pushback if they went after that first group's initiatives. Yeah,
especially right about now. All right, next item on the docket, last item on the docket is from CNBC.com. This 32-year-old was making $17 an hour. Now his side hustle brings in $500,000 a year. His top 5 business lessons. Why is this like this?
People love vending machines because they're convenient. If you're thirsty, get a Coke. If you're hungry, you get some Doritos. Not many people know that anybody can own them. There's low startup costs and there's a potential for high return. My name is Marcus Graham, and I made over $300,000 last year from my vending machine business. I have 21 vending machines spread across Baltimore, Philadelphia, DC, and Detroit. These are a couple of my vending machines. This snack machine makes $800 a month, and this drink machine makes $1,000 a month. This machine makes $1,000 a month, and this machine makes $1,300 a month. I started my vending machine business in 2018. I had a friend who saw a woman taking cash out of a vending machine, and it kind of sparked the idea about maybe we should get into it. It cost me about $4,500 to get started in the vending machine business, between 2 machines and 2 credit card readers. In 2018, it made $4,000. 2019, it made $25,000. 2020, it made over $200,000. 2021, it made over $300,000. And I'm currently projected to make over $500,000 in 2022. Before starting the vending machine business, I was making $30,000 a year. I was living in poverty, and I was just hoping that one day I can turn my life around. I used to try to be a music producer, and that didn't work out, so I moved back home, and my goal was to live with my mother for a period of time to save money. I stayed with my mother for about 9 months and was able to save up $10,000. From that point in time, I wanted to move to Philadelphia to start a business. I didn't know what that business was going to be, and I landed on the vending machine business. What started out as a side hustle became my life. I went from making $30,000 a year to over $300,000 a year. A few tips that I have for starting your own vending machine business is: one, never buy a machine until you have a place to put it. When I'm looking for a good vending location, I'm looking for places that have a lot of foot traffic. You know, places like apartments, hotels, motels, student housing. To buy a vending machine, you want to look for your local vending machine warehouse, which I think is the best. You can also find vending machines on places like Craigslist, Facebook Market, or places like eBay. A vending machine can cost anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000, depending on if it's new or refurbished. This is a Vendo 511 drink machine, also known as your classic Pepsi machine. A refurbished machine like this will cost you around $1,500, and a new one will cost you around $3,500. Well, this is your standard AMS snack machine. If you were to have a refurbished AMS snack machine, you should expect to pay around $1,500 to $2,000. And if this was a brand new snack machine, it will cost you roughly around $5,000. This is a Crane National 449 combo machine. If you were to have a vending location that only has room for one machine, you can use something like this. If you were to get a refurbished machine, it would cost around $3,500. And if you were to get a new machine, it would cost you roughly $7,000. Before the pandemic, this machine was $1,400, and now it's $2,000. This machine was $1,000, and now it's $1,400. A typical day for me as the owner of joint vending is I wake up, I check my vending machine sales, I contact my staff to see what machines they're gonna be stocking. I then shop for product for the machines that I service, and then I go stock the machines. Some of my best-selling products are Coca-Cola, Red Bull, peanut M&Ms, nacho cheese Doritos, Lipton iced tea. Those are some of the things that people love the most in my machines. To get our vending machine product, we go to wholesale distributors like Sam's Club, BJ's, Costco's. We even come to our local vending machine warehouse that also sells vending machine product. I buy a bottle of Coke for 55 cents and I sell it for $1.75. I profit about $1.20 per bottle of Coke that I sell. I pay 60 cents for a bag of Doritos at a wholesale price, and I resell it for $1.50. So I'm profiting about 90 cents per bag of Doritos that I sell. I buy a can of Red Bull for $1.42 at a wholesale price, and I resell it for $2.85 out of my vending machine. So I profit $1.43 per can. I buy peanut M&Ms for 75 cents at a wholesale price, and I resell them for $1.60. So I'm profiting 85 cents per pack. 30% of my revenue goes towards buying product for the vending machines. 10% goes towards paying my staff. Another 10% goes towards miscellaneous things like gas, and the other 50% I profit. Some of the things I love about running a vending machine business is that I have a lot of flexibility. I can work when I want to work. I also like the ability to service people, to provide a need to them. One of the challenges of running a vending machine business could be vandalism. One time I had someone try to break into my vending machine to steal cash. They broke the bill validator where the cash goes in and efforts to take out the money. Fortunately for me, they weren't able to do so. In the future, I'm looking to expand to multiple states, add more vending machine locations around the nation. I want to add more staff to the team, and then potentially open up my own vending machine warehouse where I will sell my own vending machines, card readers, and vending machine product. By being in the vending machine business and finding success in it, I've been able to employ my sister, which is something very, very important to me. And she's been able to turn her life around. She's running my business in Philadelphia while I live in the suburbs in a very nice house with my family in Maryland. I've been able to change my life. I've been able to change my sister's life. I've been able to change my family's life with the vending machine business. And I want to change other people's life by talking about the business, doing speaking events, seminars, webinars, whatever I can do to, help everyone learn about a business that not a lot of people know about.
Who says Black men can't make it in this economy? What do you think about that, Renaissance man?
Yeah, the big thing that sort of stood out here was kind of what we've been harping on all night is that, when he said he was trying to make it, he said he initially had to move in with his mother for 10 months, save up 10 grand and then go out and start his business. So essentially, when you look at, like I said, because I don't know a ton about this business, but, watching that, I expected the machines to be a lot more expensive. But he said he was basically able to get a machine for $1,000, prior to the pandemic. So I mean, if you have that $10,000 as basically your startup capital, and then you're able to get 2 machines for $2,000, you basically, what he did was he eliminated that. What we always talk about is the undercapitalization problem. He had enough money to go out and buy the assets that he needed to get it started. Versus, if he hadn't lived at home for those first 10 months, getting that initial vending machine to get the business rolling and having that cushion wouldn't have been there. So, props to him. Great story. Looks like it's obviously he's talked about the flexibility. And then he's also looking to, kind of vertically integrate as well, get into selling machines, selling card readers, things like that. But I think it goes back to, once again, access to capital to start with.
I bring this up on the docket, and coincidentally, we have a Black man who has a vending machine business with our organization, and I think that was a part of their DEI initiative was to bring in more Black businesses. I work in the financial sector, for those who don't know, and I didn't know it was owned by a Black man until we came in here and started restocking it, and I was, this is early in the morning. I'm like, what's he doing here? And, he let me know that these are his machines. Now, these machines don't accept cash. They actually are Apple Pay, Android Pay. And they're not enclosed inside of a, like a traditional vending machine like you see, like he has in the video. What they have, how they have this set up is like food is on shelves and there's cameras watching it from multiple angles, so you can't steal within the organization. I mean, you're going to get red flag, and you'll probably get let go from the organization. Who wants to get let go from a $150,000 job for $2, of a bag of chips? I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, right? And so the way it's all set up, it's not enclosed in that fashion, except for like the the cold food, because it has to remain cold, so it's inside a refrigerator. But essentially what you do is you take these these snacks and these other essential items, and you scan it across this machine, this point of sales machine, and then you basically use either your thumbprint or your corporate ID, and then it bills you that way. And so there's no money exchange, and there's no infrastructure that needs to be put up in terms of like the traditional thing that you see here in the video. And so we talked about this maybe some years ago, maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, but this is a viable business. And I don't understand why more brothers in the space don't talk about this, or at least talk more about it. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he is the high value man. I don't see any gynocracy stopping him. I don't see any matriarchy stopping him. This brother is out here getting it. And you have people in the space saying, no, the economy's so bad, you can't make any money. Let's get rid of leadership that's in there now and replace him with some ineffective leadership. And then, you know, brothers like this who would be SOL if he, you know, if that was to happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when he said that someone broke into his machine to steal his cash, you know, I was like, at some point, I'm sure he'll move to where he mainly goes to, you know, Apple Pay or a card reader system, you know, because then you don't have to worry about, that'll even make it easier for him. He'll be able to track sales easier. There'll be no, like I said, no going in and actually pulling the cash or putting cash in the machine, you know, to give cash back, all of those things. So that'll make it easier. You may not even have to, on some days, I'm sure you'll obviously be able to know what was sold, all of those things. So technology will deal with that issue with newer machines.
Yeah, definitely. It's just one of those things that it's a really slept on business, and it takes 2 to 3 years for growth. But you know, as we talked about earlier, you know, $5,000 grant, that makes a lot of sense here. You know, if you're trying to scale your business. And so that's where these grants really come in. That's where a lot of these entrepreneurship workshops and diversity and equity initiatives come in to help brothers like this really get from point A to point B. If he had that 5 or 10,000 up front, he could have made a killing a lot earlier. But I think a part of his business growth was due to the pandemic, that you could not go into a store without a mask, and, you know, you had to social distance. And so folks was looking for any opportunity to buy food or drink. And so a vending machine makes a lot more sense, especially in places like laundromats and, you know, bus terminals and other mass transit stations and whatnot. That makes a heck of a lot of sense.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's all relative, you know, because this was a business that didn't require a ton of, you know, capital and investment. There's very low overhead, you know, that $10,000 is able to go far, but it's all relative. You know, when you start talking about, hey, we're going to start selling stuff to the US government, there's all sorts of compliance and systems and computers and, you know, grants, all of those things that really start to drive up the cost of initial investment. So it's all relative. You know, small businesses like that, you know, lawn care business, something like that. Yeah, you've got, you know, a $5,000 grant, you know, you can go pretty far on that. Yeah.
Yeah. I you know, I salute to him, man. I think, you know, it's a heck of a come up. It's a heck of a come up. So, I mean, then you take into consideration like the other article we covered about the water boys in the hood in Atlanta. You can see that there's some intersectionality, so to speak, of water boys in the hood, this brother with the vending machine, you know, the Rice organization down in Atlanta, skilling people up so they can get their products to market. There's a lot of ways of creating an ecosystem and consolidating these resources and opportunities, or so I should say these ambitions, so you can create more opportunities. These are the sort of brainstorming of ideas that, you know, we kind of do here, right? You know, we're seeing all the moving pieces, and we're trying to make sure that other people are seeing what we're seeing, and we're putting it all on, you know, all on the big screen so that everybody can be on the same page, and so that people can't think that we're just pulling this out of thin air or out of our ass for that matter. And so, yes, you can be successful in these sort of emerging markets if you have access to the capital and you have the wherewithal to actually help it scale. Just because you have a YouTube channel doesn't necessarily mean that's necessarily a business. I mean, like some people think, they go down to Atlanta, for male conferences that don't necessarily materialize into anything. Meanwhile, you got a brother like this who's left a $17 hour job to make $500,000 a year. He didn't go to like a Amazon web training, in some back room somewhere and running around the country trying to train people. He didn't do all that. He went and opened up a vending machine. So.
Yeah, things are out here. I think you'll see more, but yeah, to your point, you got to be in the right place at the right time, and a meetup with guys talking about game and inviting dating coaches doesn't seem like it's the fast track to this stuff.
Yeah. So I think that's one of the highlights of the night, man. Is just when you got an idea, man, run with it. Don't be afraid to really do the due diligence on the research and analysis of the market to see if it's viable, to see if it's viable or not. Most businesses fail within their first year. This brother was able to survive even during the pandemic. He just in the right place at the right time, like you said, Renaissance.
Yeah. And don't let don't fall for the hype that the gynocracy is somehow going to stop you. So,
absolutely. All right, thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button on the way out and share the video if possible and hit that notification bell so you get all the